So this was a topic that was requested by you, and of course, I am more than happy to talk about it. Hello, and the warmest of welcome to today's video. For those who haven't seen my face before, hi, I'm Nick, happy to have you here. For those who have seen my face before, thank you so much for joining me again. I hope you're enjoying my videos. I put out videos roughly 3 times a week on a range of different topics, anywhere from fashion, slightly more personal topics. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, then please do head down, hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell. I love chatting with you all. I'm all about living life loud, and what that means to me is being your authentic self, being proud to be you, and just celebrating who you are. Celebrating yourself and celebrating others. So, this was a video that was requested by you when I put out a community post asking if there were any ideas for content, and a few of you said, can you tell us what you think about Hermes? Now, it's a really interesting one for me, and let me preface this whole video by saying I'm not an Hermes customer. I don't have the budget to be an Hermes customer. So that immediately takes me out of the running, really, in terms of really having a right to have any opinion on it, because I can't afford it. So, but all I can do is comment on my thoughts as someone who, at some point in time, hopefully, you know, if life goes the way that it would be fab, I might have the budget to be able to pick up some Hermes pieces, particularly new from boutique. I could get pre-loved Hermes certain items, but I haven't. But yes, let me say that before, because you quite often get that on these types of videos where when you talk about a brand that you don't own, people can sometimes be a bit critical of the fact, well, you don't own it, so how come you have an opinion? I understand that point of view, so I'm prefacing this whole thing. So, Hermes, iconic French luxury fashion house, kind of considered to be really one of the top tier luxury brands that's, I would say, more in the mainstream than others, because you have very, very subtle, iconic luxury fashion houses or luxury stores and brands that are a little bit quieter, that aren't spoken about as readily and as regularly. So that's something to say there. I think it's kind of the top tier in terms of that more public view of luxury. Beautiful pieces. Has a very iconic logo. Has a very iconic palette. Everyone knows what that orange box means. That very deep, saturated kind of tangerine orange, opposed to the slightly more yellowish orange that we see from Louis Vuitton. So it's really established its place in fashion. It is very well known for its quota bags. It is known for its equestrian heritage as well, and that inspires a lot of the designs. A lot of the very beautiful pieces take inspiration from that kind of equestrian heritage. It's a very nice brand. It is a very expensive brand. But from what I hear as well, it's a very high quality brand. So it's one that I think has remained fairly steady over the years as well, from a price point and a quality perspective. I've not heard anybody say it's diminished. Also, the prices, I think, yes, they probably had little knocks here and there upwards, but they're certainly not Chanel, Louis Vuitton jumps over the past few years. And in a lot of instances, the Chanel classics are now more expensive than the Hermes quota pieces. So for what I've also heard is diminishing quality. So there we are. I think that they have found their market. They have found their niche. They are coveted around the world, the items from Hermes, and quite often seen as celebrity favorites. The Birkins, the Kellys, they are favorites of the wealthy. I know there was the topic where Beyonce said Birkins are done, and that's fair enough to have that opinion. There will be other people who will absolutely love the items still. So, you know, give and take. And hey, if they are getting a little bit more done, it maybe makes them a bit more accessible for everybody. But one of my thoughts, I like the brand. Like I said, I can't afford it. Especially not the pieces I would want, like leather pieces. I could buy a Click H bracelet. I could buy some of the ready-to-wear. I could buy a pair of shoes, like I could do it, but I don't want to. And that's the thing with Hermes for me, is even if I could, I'm not sure I would. Because there are pieces that I feel are very beautiful, that I like very much, but don't necessarily inspire me so much. It's subtle luxury, which I like, but for that price point, the subtlety doesn't always go that way for me. So let's start with what I really like. I love the Birkin. I'm a huge Birkin fan, and I would love a Birkin. We will get into the discussion of the game in a little bit, but the Birkin, I love it. The Garden Party, fabulous piece. I think that's stunning, and I would love one of those, and I've been looking at those pre-loved. I really like the Her bag. I like the Constance, is it the Constance Elan? That's the rectangular Constance. I think that's very beautiful. The Click H bracelets, the CDC cuffs, I think they're very nice. The riding boots that you can get that have the Kelly locks on them, the Kelly belts and the CDC belts. Not such a lover of the big H belts, if I'm honest, but yeah, I think there are some really beautiful pieces. They also do fabulous colours. They have a great range of neutrals, and they have a fabulous range of bright and bold colours. I would like to see a little bit more pattern and print, but that's fine. They have really bright colours. I love the fact that they change them up season after season. I like the fact that there are some they bring back for a couple of seasons. There are others that maybe they've brought out 1 year, give it 3 years rest, and then they bring it back. I think that's really nice. It keeps everyone on their toes a little bit in terms of what's going to be coming. It creates anticipation, and I like that. And I like the fact that they are also exploring with textures. So for example, the Oran sandals, you can get those in neutrals, you can get those in bright colours, you can also get them in various textures. I really like that. I think that's fun. They do some beautiful pieces in exotics. Now, I understand that not everyone agrees with exotics, and that's completely fair enough. I am someone who thinks that as long as they are sustainably sourced or responsibly sourced, if you can afford them, then absolutely fair enough. So they do some really beautiful pieces. There are some pieces I really don't love quite so much from Hermes. I am not a fan of the Constance, if I'm honest. Square bags, just not for me. The Kelly, I sit somewhat on the fence of, where it's nice enough, but a little prim and proper for my taste. I absolutely loathe the Evelyn. I think the Evelyn is horrible, terrible. Sorry, I know a lot of people like it. I think it's horrible. I think it looks tacky and cheap, and yeah, not a fan. The Belize I sit on the fence with, because it comes out in some really beautiful styles and really beautiful colours, and I like the one that you can get that's a shark, that's got a shark face on it. That's really cool. But a Belize in a neutral for £6,000, I just think it's so uninspiring. I just think there are much better bags for the money, and I do think it's one of those pieces that you probably buy because you're wanting to show your commitment to the brand. And hey, if you love it, that's absolutely fair enough. But I can think of 5 bags off the top of my head that are similar shapes that are so much better value that I think give you more for your money. A large Alma, as an example. Moschino do that shape quite a lot as well. So yeah, that's really uninspiring to me. I'm not a huge lover of the H belts. I don't mind a logo. I actually really sometimes quite like a logo. But that belt, to me, I think it's fine. But I feel that it's a little saturated in the market, to be honest. Especially, you know, if I'm in London, you turn around and someone's got a H belt, you know, every 2 seconds. So it's not my favourite. I think there are nicer belts. The ready to wear is nice enough, but quite expensive, I think. And I'm not a huge lover of luxury ready to wear. I've spoken about that before. So all in all, my feelings about the brand are positive. Do I know if I'll ever buy into it? I'm not sure. I'm not sure I'll ever buy into it new from boutique. you know, I might buy something like a Click H bracelet, but it would need to be in the right colour. I would really want one in pink with silver hardware. I would consider a pre-loved garden party. I would really like a Birkin, but I think I would likely need to go pre-loved for that, and I would have no issue doing that if I had the means to do so. And that takes us, I guess, onto one of the most talked about aspects of Hermes, which is around this game and being able to access certain items. Now, I have no issue with the fact that stock is hard to get. I think that creates exclusivity. I think from a brand perspective, that's a very important thing. I think the 2 bags a year, I don't think that's an issue. However, all I would say with it is that maybe they could be a little bit more transparent with people about what their chances are of accessing a certain item, because there will be so many points of variation. Different stores will have access to different stock. It will all depend on what the preference is within the market or the store or the country that you're trying to buy it from. A consideration of the loyalty of the client, but also how good their relationship is with the store in general. There might be someone who doesn't own an Hermes bag, but has a huge following or a huge opportunity to be seen with that bag, versus someone who owns 5 of them, but less opportunity for that. And then it will be down to the store or the brand as to whether or not they see that promotion opportunity as being greater value than the loyalty. They might see that as something that counts against the individual because actually they want to keep it as something that's a little bit less publicly seen, a little bit more exclusive and elusive. However, they might see that as a really positive thing. So it will all depend on what the brand is looking for. It will depend on the store manager. And I am a big believer in the fact that if you are seeking that type of item, a Kelly, a Constance, a Birkin from the store, have transparent conversations with your sales associate and say, look, what are my chances here? I'm not going to spend on items that I don't love and that I don't believe in order to acquire this item, because my understanding of the whole process is that they want you to love the brand. They want you to be a Hermes ambassador opposed to simply a singular item. However, I don't think you need to pretend to be an Hermes ambassador to be able to get that item. I really don't. And I don't think they would want that. I just really don't think that they would want that. They'll want you to love what you've got. And sure, there will be items that I'm sure are higher on the priority list for the store manager or the sales executive to move, and that might be because of surplus stock, it might be because of targets, it might be because of margins. There could be lots of different reasons as to why certain items are higher on their list than others, and sure, some of those might unlock the potential to access other things. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's just about transparency and having open conversations, but also there's a lot of personal responsibility here, where if you are buying items from a brand simply to try and access something else, but you don't love what you're buying, then I'm sorry, you are playing a very silly game, and that isn't the game that they've invited you to. You are the one that's placing that pressure on yourself to go, oh, if I buy one of that, I think that might be what they want. Why are you second guessing what they want? Just buy what you love and see if it works out for you. And if it doesn't, if you can't seem to get one from store, then consider something pre-loved. I don't think alternatives are a great option. I was watching Deb from Wild Unfiltered just yesterday talking about one of her regrets, or a couple of her regrets, and 2 of the bags that she said were regrets were items that she'd bought in order to fill the gap of the fact that she hadn't got the Hermes quota bag from another brand, and then the call came in to say, we've got your wish list. So I don't think that you will ever feel as comfortable with an alternative as you would do the main thing you were going for. I think that's true of anything in life, really. You know, if you've got your heart set on something, I really do think it's worth sitting on it for a little bit longer rather than trying to fill in the gaps because who knows, that thing might come around and then you might not be in a position to then spend the money or have the time to do it, or whatever that may be, whatever the topic may be. So, like I said, I wish they could maybe be a little bit more transparent about it, or maybe they made it that everyone had access to one bag and then the second one was a slightly more elusive piece, because not everyone will want to. So maybe they do have access to more readily to one item, have more people have one, then less people have multiple. But again, that maintains the exclusivity if they have fewer people with more items. So I can see why they do it from a brand decision. I think it's smart. People are still going absolutely, goo gaga for these items. So from a branding perspective, it works. The pre-loved market is very buoyant when it comes to these items. The prices are great. I would always benefit from a pre-loved because I love bigger bags, and bigger bags are coming back in, but I love bags like the Birkin 40, and the Birkin 40 is a very large bag and it's very heavy. So therefore that will put off a lot of people. Even if they're a big bag person, that will put people off. So the prices tend to be lower for those than, for example, a Birkin 25, a Kelly 28. Going for something in those much larger sizes will always go in my favour. So I know that in the future. Do I know if I'll ever own one? I don't. I did think, oh, maybe by the time I'm 30. That's 2 years away, 2 and a bit years away. I'm not going to have a Birkin by the time I'm 30. Maybe 35. Let's see. A Birkin 35 for when I turn 35, then a Birkin 40 for when I turn 40. Maybe that could be the goal. Who knows? So, yes, I think that it's a good brand. I do think it's fairly pricey. I can understand why it's pricey, but I also think that they have really found their place in the market. I think that they have established themselves incredibly well. The collaborations that they've done, the way that they've renamed things, I think they do a very good job. I think I'd probably sooner consider Hermes than Chanel, but for certain items. I think I would consider a Chanel bag before I consider an Hermes bag, excluding the garden party. But I think I would consider Hermes jewellery or shoes or things before I considered Chanel, if that makes sense. So there are certain items that I would consider, and even then I wouldn't go for a classic flap. I would go for maybe something like a cocoa handle, a tote of some capacity maybe, that kind of, it's called something different now, but the DeVille kind of tote, I'd maybe consider one of those, because I think you get more bang for your money there with those items opposed to some of their classics. But yeah, I'm a fan of the brand. I don't know if I'll ever buy into it. I can't afford to buy into it at the moment, except for some key pieces that we've talked about. And to be honest, I don't want to afford it at the moment. There are other things that I would rather spend the equivalent money on that will give me more joy, or there are things that I want to experience, because as much as I love fashion and luxury, I also do still want to continue being able to see the world. I still want to be able to eat at nice restaurants. I still want to just be able to live a really nice life as an all-round, and not have to overly compromise. So therefore, that's where I come from with it all. But let me know what you think. Are you a fan of Hermes? Are you a big Hermes purchaser? Are you against Hermes? Do you agree with their quota system? Do you not agree with their quota system? Let me know what your thoughts are. These are my thoughts, and I hope to hear from you in my next video. Take care, everyone. Bye now.